laughing at me scrambling to get ready before the timer went down, Ryan? Or
No, I wasn't paying attention. I was just like, okay, like I forgot to share it this morning. I was like, okay, let's get to it, and we're gonna do that right now. We'll actually get that done. But
okay,
yeah, man.
So let me ask you this: you share on your phone, not your computer.
Yeah, always on my phone. Always on my phone.
See, that's why I'm messing up, because I keep going to it, and every time I go to it on my computer, when you actually click on it, it brings you right to the live, and that's when the double sound comes in, and my head starts going, "Who the fuck am I listening to right now?" And so that's where I get.
All right, well, there we go. You know, there's the thing as your internet's going out as well. So, this is Sales Chatter Live, logistics podcast where we aim to help 10,000 reps generate over $1 million in revenue in less than 12 months. And we're excited today. Today's one of the days we've had a pretty short week in Canada and the US where we're basically talking about different things when it comes to relationships. Yesterday we had Dean and Jeff on talking about amazing things, and today by no means, like we do our 2 videos every single Thursday itself. And, we have an amazing guest today that Dan has basically talked to, and just getting to know him behind the scenes and just to kind of get somebody that we kind of vibe with as well. So without further ado, I want you to introduce our amazing guest from all the way from Buffalo, New York this morning. I even asked him today, sorry, not Buffalo, New York, Niagara Falls, my apologies. And I was wondering if Niagara Falls is as good on the Canadian side, is as good in the New York side, but he'll let us know. So we want to welcome once again Sidney Tarver over to Sales Chatter Live. Good morning, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you for having me on the platform. Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's amazing to see different places, and like we were talking pre-chat was, you got the background, you got the Shure microphone, that the influencer podcast microphone going. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Tell everybody about people's first logistics company, and let's have some fun today, brother.
Definitely. My name's Sidney Tarver. I'm originally from Chattanooga, Tennessee, in the South. Grew up, mother, father was in my life. My dad was a coach. My mom was a social worker. So very, humble beginnings. I started early excelling in sports. So I played football, every sport, but football I excelled in, was able to get a scholarship to college, Tennessee State University in Nashville, where I played 4 years. Got a degree in supply chain management, business, logistics. And but after college, I ended up going to the NFL. I ended up playing for the Cleveland Browns and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I kind of had an untraditional path into business. But I played a year in football, got cut. That was my first real business experience of how cutthroat the business world is with sports. It's mixed in. It's a whole different world. So I got cut from the NFL. Never went back, didn't chase. I fell back on my degree. I got a scholar. I got inducted into a leadership development program in logistics under Merce Damco up in Virginia. So I was up there working at this warehouse called Damco Distribution, and we were unloading containers from the port of Virginia. And I really got into logistics and got my feet wet into that world. Later, I went to work from Amazon. Amazon headhunted me from them, and I helped start up their logistics divisions where they deliver the package to your house, the last mile delivery. Mm-hmm. And then about 3 years ago, I got another bug to transition my life, where Amazon had a program for their current employees where you could quit and partner with Amazon and start your own delivery company and deliver the packages with under the Amazon umbrella, but under your own situation where you could deliver and start your own company and partner with them to deliver the freight. So that's kind of what People First Logistics came from, and that's the current journey I'm in now.
Well, first and foremost, man, kudos to you for understanding that, you utilized every single situation that happened to your life. So let's talk about the NFL. First and foremost, you excited for football to be back tonight? I've been chomping at the bit tonight. So what about yourself?
Nah, definitely. It's exciting when college football started. In the South, where I'm from, college football is bigger than the NFL, but I like both of them though. So it's fun. It's an electricity that comes with football season, and it's like the start of the year. It's like a new year when football starts.
Oh, that's awesome, brother. I know college football. It's not as big as in Canada is, but we'd love for it to be big. We'd always love an NFL team. I know the Buffalo Bills, they played a couple of games here back in the day for us. So kudos to that. So let's unwind that a little bit. So like you said, you went to the NFL, I would assume maybe mindset of an athlete is my life is pretty set. I know the career span of an NFL player is shorter compared to, let's say, basketball, hockey, all those other sports. But you knew that, you were setting up a plan. Like we've had Marcus Ogden, who was, I think, a defensive tackle for the Ravens. And he's doing his own thing as well. When you did get cut, what was why get into supply chain? Did it kind of find you? I remember you talking about that company where you're doing the containers. Was it something that, you just started pounding out your resume and then you got a call back? Or was it like, you know what, something called to me and made it happen?
Nah, I remember I was at home with my dad. I just looked at him. I was working out still, waiting. Maybe my agent would call me, but I was like, I remember hitting my dad like, all right, Dad, who call your network and find me a job. Like I was chilling, like not chilling, but working out. I was working at this little daycare, like community center. It was a good childhood friend. So I was just out there hanging out with kids, like just leading them, and we taking care of them all day. But I looked at my dad. I was like, I need to get some real money, Dad. Like, call up your network. And he hit me up, and like a few months later, like probably a month later, like this dude named Terry Philpott, I'll never forget. He was like, you want to come up here? I'll give you $5,000 to come to Virginia and take this position in this leadership development program in logistics. So that's kind of how it happened. Like the network, it wasn't like I was just blasting my resume on Indeed or the job finder. Like it was really
still be waiting for a job if you did, You'd still
definitely less leveraged relationships in networking that really brought me my opportunity,
That is spectacular. That's one of the coolest things that you can mention. And shout out to Dan coming back. He's got the Jeff internet today. But let's talk a little bit
Jeff
about
internet. I actually thought it was your internet. I was like, oh, Ryan just froze on us because you were sitting there like this. And I'm like, oh, Ryan, you just pulled a Jeff. And then all of a sudden everything started circling of death. I was like, oh, I just pulled a Jeff. Great.
There we go. But Sydney, when you're talking about that leadership, for everybody who's out there, I want the audience who's watching today, right? Because that is such a great thing that we can see with supply chain, that it can go in many different ways. What are 3 big takeaways that you had, and what advice would you have for somebody who maybe is looking for something like that and wanting to apply? How can they find it? Because like you said, it was your network, your dad's network, and even your own network that made this happen. But through your hard work and your perseverance and your attitude, that's what made you stick into logistics as well, and then going to Amazon and having your career right now. But coming back to that leadership program, what were 3 big takeaways that you even use in your career right now?
It's everything. They taught me the customer, just how to deal with customers and different clients and interact, and having a great relationship with the customers. Because even if you have a great relationship, if you make a mistake and you just hold yourself accountable with whichever way it goes, usually they'll understand. If you have a great relationship and you make a mistake, it's no hard feelings. It's just, hey, I messed up this business. It cost me X amount of dollars. You just pay it or hold yourself accountable and make it good. And the relationship still buds out of that. So customer relationships, teamwork with logistics, working on docks and different work. You're managing teams of 50, 100. It's whatever. It's big teams, kind of like sports. So that I'm used to being around a lot of people, a lot of different attitudes and egos, and just managing that type of deal and dealing with people, because a lot of people are scared to deal with people, in logistics. And these people are making the world go around. Back when I was working in the warehouses, we were paying people $8 an hour to unload hot containers of Walmart boxes. Like, so these people they mad and frustrated in life. So you have to kind of understand what they're going through, where they're at in life, and be able to talk to them and still lead them to get the job that you need to get done. So they're dealing with various attitudes. And then finally, just the grind, man, being consistent. The next day counts in logistics. Yeah, it just keeps going. Like, no matter what you feel, a ship, a truck, or something is going to hit that dock. You're going to have to unload it, whether you're tired, whether it's snowing, whether you're raining, whether you're in a hurricane. These packages never stop coming. So the grind, I mean, you got to stay consistent, show up every day, and you got to put the past behind you quick, just like in football. If you have a bad play, get it out your mind, move on to the next. If you miss unloading important containers yesterday, you can't worry about that, because 100 more containers are coming today. Like, you got to move forward and process fast and keep pushing forward every day.
That's you bring up such a valid point when it comes to, like in football, when you have a bad play, move on. In golf, when you have a bad shot, it takes some people a couple of holes to move on. Same thing in any sport. where you have a really bad play, you might have a bad, like any kind of your next shift, your next on field. You might suck at that point because mentally you've been destroyed because of the bad play until you kind of get back into it. How would you suggest that somebody goes from, having a really bad day to kind of, bustling up and getting a better day tomorrow, or even an hour from now, or even 5 minutes from now?
It's various things you can do, but I would tell people to study neuroscience. It's breathing techniques, it's stretching, it's different little methods you could do to just clear your mind instantly and kind of factory reset your body to get clear. Or just, I've heard people like just count to 10, go outside, count to 10, take a deep breath, things like that. But really, it's breathing techniques, neuroscience, really study the body and the mind. And it's various ways to instantly reset your body, different breathing techniques. So I would suggest people look into that. And don't take yourself, be able to laugh. Don't take things so serious. I just come from the mind frame, like, we all gonna die one day. Mistakes happen. Like, just be free, be flowing. It's all good. Everything's good. The sun always comes back out in my experience.
There we go. And that's so perfect. And when you were we were chatting earlier on, you mentioned you worked for Amazon, and then there's a program, to be a business within a business. And I started thinking about myself as well, because I'm a freight agent and I'm a business within a business as well. And you kind of get to utilize that kind of network and things like that. For yourself at People's First Logistics Company, tell the audience a little bit about, I know, like you mentioned, it's about the packages. Like, do you have a team? Is it kind of like you solo right now, kind of running the ship? What does a day-to-day kind of look like at People's First Logistics Company? People
First Logistics, we actually probably queuing up to leave right now. I probably have a team. We lost, but my highest team of drivers, I probably had 100 employees in one time. So right now we're probably at 60. We probably had 60 drivers. I got about 5 support staff, and then I got like 3 virtual assistants type deal. So we probably running about 75, 80 people right now. As peak season comes, as we're going to ramp up, probably be back up to 100 people, 50 trucks, Sprinter vans, and that's kind of what big scale operation. But a day-to-day, I would go through probably at 11:30, have a stand-up safety meeting, debrief. Hey, guys, this is what's going on. Talk with my team, smile, shake hands, kiss babies, kind of ask them what they're seeing out on road, talk to them, politic. I'm the good guy though in my company. I'd let the other people be mean. I treat my people, hey, how you doing? What's up? Y'all want some donuts, coffee? What y'all need? Do we need some new devices? What are y'all seeing out on the road that can help y'all do better? And I just go buy it and bring it to them. So I'm kind of the good guy at the job. When I come around, it's good. We're going to get some gift cards. We're going to have some fun. We're going to slap hands, high five. But yeah, startup meeting, debrief, go load up. And that's really our sprint. We sprint into the day, because the other day I could be virtual. We on the road, so there's no need for me to really be anywhere physical. Just checking my computer, making sure the routes are going down. But I have a team of dispatchers who does that, and I'm pretty much just big picture. How many vans are we getting fixed? How many's down? How many oil changes do we need? Just the big picture. How many people are we hiring a day? I kind of just monitor every aspect of the business that needs to be taken care of. So yeah, that's my day to day pretty much.
I got a personal question, more along the lines of like Ryan and I and a couple of our business partners are at this point. How do you like the virtual assistants versus in-house teams?
I'm gonna tell you about it. I had to make this chance. I had an employee who kind of had me handicapped on my HR compliance side. I started the company with him, but 2 years in, it kind of turned into a monster. So they thought that I needed them, and then I had to pivot. And it's funny you say that, like at the perfect time, and things always come, like the email hit my inbox on like, do you need HR assistants and hiring assistants? And I was like, absolutely. Yep. So I hit them up, got the virtual assistants, and they were tailored to the logistics business. They were already doing logistics. The company I was working with is kind of already in logistics. Most people get a virtual assistant and kind of train them from scratch, but these people were already doing logistics moves, payroll, and the stuff I needed at that time. So it was the perfect fit, and it ended up coming out. I got 2 assistants for the price of 1 employee that I had to let go. So actually less. So it actually provided more value. It kind of split the thing into 2 different departments so we could have more like accountability. and then it just we not look back since. So I highly suggest virtual assistants offshore, and they're hungry people who trying to really make it in life, and they do great work.
That's awesome. Hey, Ryan, we've said this many times. Those emails and some of those calls come at the perfect time when it's kind of like, if you're sitting in your living room and you get up and you smash your head off the side of the coffee table and somebody comes to the door trying to sell you Girl Guide cookies, it's probably not the right time for Girl Guide cookies. But if somebody comes to the door and says, hey, I'm a nurse, I can help you with that cut on your head, you're like, come on in. And, so that actually, translates well into our first video, doesn't it, Ryan? That's a good segue, Sydney, and you didn't even plan that. So let's go with this.
The most important lesson I ever learned in persuasion, I actually learned from Eminem. In his rap battles, the way that he would win is that he would call out every single deficiency, every single thing he possibly could that was negative about himself, so that he took the weapons out of his opponent's mouth. There was nothing they could say to him that was worse than what he had already said to himself. And I realized he made it so that everything that he said after that point had to be believable. And you can use that same psychology when you're selling someone. So instead of saying, hey, our stuff's so great, you can say, hey, these are the ways our stuff isn't that good. But because we're not that good in this way, it makes us much better in this way. And they will be far more likely to believe for your positive trait if you just are honest and upfront about the negative, and it makes you bulletproof.
I've said it for years, 8 Mile it, right? Because one of the biggest things when I first saw 8 Mile was the fact that he called every single issue out. His buddies and Uncle Tom, he like his other buddy shot himself. Like it's calling out all the things that these guys, everyone was going to use against him. And I've been a big believer in that, in logistics. Like, call it out. I think you're stepping ahead of that kind of style when you're having your meetings. What do you guys see out there? You're going to the source with the drivers and saying, what do you see out there? And, that actually gives you, Sydney, if you're selling the company, that gives you that 8 Mile experience where you can say, well, this is happening on the road, but here's kind of how we're mitigating it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Interesting. What was your thoughts on that video, Sydney?
No, I like Alex. I study about a lot of his stuff, but yeah, if you lay it out on the line in the front, like, either people are going to like you or they don't like you. Like, you only got one choice, but this is me and this is how I'm showing up every day. So yeah, I really like, that's a good guy to study. If people out there listening, like, definitely get in your Alex Hormozi bag and just eat up everything, consume his content, because that guy really knows what he's talking about. But yeah, I have nothing to hide. Being an open book will get you very far in relationships, business, whatever you want. Say it in the beginning. Don't, hide or kind of lay it out a line in the beginning. Either you're going to get the deal, not get the deal, or you might get a good relationship because somebody can relate to whatever problems or whatever you're saying. Somebody can help you with it. So I'm a absolute 100% firm believer in that model that was just shown in the video, for sure.
Yeah. Or they're going to say, like, wow, that's pretty forthcoming.
Yeah.
Intriguing. Let's chat more. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you think, brother? I know you saw it this morning, but
yeah, it was good. I've seen it before too, and yeah, I think it's with anybody in sales, and just as Sydney was saying, like, relationships it's outside of logistics too. Like your family, your friends, your inner circle too, like even your friends too, like friends that you've outgrown. You're like, okay, well, let me tell it all on the line. Like, I don't want to kind of let this lie kind of keep going through. So I think in terms of, like, when we're talking about transactional, like, relationship, you kind of be vulnerable, and I think that's one of the key emotions from this is being vulnerable. So anybody who's watching there as a logistics sales rep, don't lie and say that you have assets when you truly don't. Customers will be more appreciative. Yes, it might be a hard no, but at the end they provide the benefits, rather than saying, like, hey, we are asset based, and you don't have an asset, and then you can kind of make lies and different things like that. So never get caught up in lies and just truly be yourself, because when you're yourself, you never have to lie or, like, think on the spot about what am I going to say next, because it's natural to you, right? So great video, and as Sydney says, Hormozi, awesome.
Yeah, and not only that, Ryan, you bring up a great point. Saying you have assets when you don't, or trying to use the oh yeah, but we have a relationship with 3 or 4 people, so 3 or 4 companies, so it's like we have assets. You're actually going to get found out no matter what, sooner or later down the road, right? So it's not going to do you any good or anyone on your team or anything any good, because here's the thing. I don't know about you guys, but I'd much rather take a hard no and realize they're not my ideal client and move on and find somebody that is and do business with that person for years instead of months, as opposed to saying what everybody wants to hear just to get business from them to lose it in a month. Right? Because it's like you guys both know, and Sydney, you know, you're working as a business. Ryan's an agent. I was an agent. I was in a company. I was on my own. Ryan was a salesperson in a company instead of an agent. Now he's on his own. You know, Sydney, you got almost 100 mouths to feed.
Yeah.
You know, so your ability to feed your team is directly aligned with the honesty, integrity that you put forth to your customers. And if you were to, you know, I'm not going to say lie, but, you know, not necessarily stretch the truth, I guess, right? These customers aren't going to be around long term. And that's not a good business decision for you trying to feed so many people.
Right. Nah, definitely. The fake it. I'm not a fan of fake. You hear fake it till you make it. I'm definitely not a fan of that school. And I go to a boxing gym out here. It's funny you say that. We get guys who come into the gym and I've had 10 fight, whatever they fights, and then our coach at the gym gets our boxers. He's like, oh, okay, you think he throw them in the ring and they just get beat. Like you can know instantly, like they beat the crap out these dudes, and we just in there cracking up like, dude, never come back to the gym anymore. Like that's kind of how I see people like faking their business. Like it's really the easy to get found out if you're lying about whatever you got going on, and people gonna call you bluff at all times. So you better be doing exactly what you're saying you're doing if you want to have good relationships and good transactions, everything. Because it's the information age. It's so easy to find out if somebody's lying or not, or a reference. Everybody knows somebody or knows somebody. Like it's really close. So you should be accountable and truthful and stand on your word. Absolutely.
I love that when you said in the gym, they kind of throw them in the ring and you know, let's get a baseline to see where you're at. I remember as a 15-year-old, I was red belt, black stripe in Taekwondo. And I remember going into a Taekwondo facility just before COVID. And the guy was like, okay, so what kind of training have you had? I said, you know, honestly, consider me starting out at like ground zero. I was a red belt, black stripe. He's like, oh, well, I said, yeah, but like I was 11 and 12 years old, right? Like that's eons from where I am. Not to mention my legs go about a quarter of the stretch of what they used to go, right? So I'm not coming in here, brother, looking for, you know, to be treated like a brown belt or something. Like treat me like a white belt, because I physically and mentally need to get back up there. And, you know, it was interesting because the sensei looked at me and he said, wow. He said, like, normally people would come in and say, you know, oh, yeah, I was red belt, black stripe. And, you know, it's been a few years, but I'm good at it. He goes, and I actually watched them hurt themselves. Now, if you take that and translate it into business, right, most of the time in business, as we grow, we've never been there before. Right. So it takes that learning experience, learning from people like yourself, learning from Ryan, learning from the audience, learning from, you know, the quote unquote gurus, you know, that there is different ways to do it. And what we knew 10 years ago is not the same case today. I mean, you think about nutrition as a whole 10 years ago compared to today, right? Like completely different industry, completely different field. You look at weightlifting, bodybuilding, exercising in general, kickboxing, CrossFit, all these different things. 10, 15 years ago, they were different.
Right.
You know, and that, like you said earlier, that pivoting is essential when it comes to your business and your team. What do you find the biggest challenge when you have to pivot? Do you find it team members kind of pivoting with you, or re-engaging the team on the new goals and dreams and ambitions? What do you find kind of the biggest challenge in that area?
The pivoting, I feel like pivoting, like knowing for me, like just my life experience, I feel like taking steps. Sometimes you have to take steps backwards or go backwards to, you know, settle down, slow it down, and then formulate your plan and then hit it back 100 miles an hour. Like I'm a person, I go 100 miles an hour and everything. I'm always trying to learn something new, but that's not the right way. Sometimes you got to sit down, quiet your mind, and really pick the best path going forward. And that might mean losing some employees, losing some business, cutting back on some contracts just to, okay, yeah, I could do this contract, but that doesn't really align with my vision because I'm trying to go here and this really just distracting my time dealing with these people. Listen, let me cut the fat, and then push back forward, back full speed ahead of steam type deal. So yeah, that pivoting. But the team also, they don't understand. They think the worst of the worst if you telling them, hey, we about to move. They're like, what? 20 miles down, I'm about to quit. This is the worst. Like, how could you? They think it's the end of the world sometimes, but it's just a pivot. We just going to another place, and whoever coming, whoever not, I wish you the best.
I love that. I was thinking there was going to be some, crazy answer, but it's you hit the nail on the head. You 8 miled that shit big time.
I can't do complex. Like sometimes I talk to business people and they saying, like I talk to tech people and they telling me this stuff. I'm like, how can you explain this to a third grader? Because I don't know the mainframes and the I could just give me a concept of that, paint me a picture, and then I'll understand it. So simplicity works best for me. That's all I know.
I think it works for everybody as well, and I think that's what in our message, like we try to basically, I think, what was it? A lot of like the politicians right now is like the big Republican thing, right? I've been following that because like if you're Canadian, you should be following the U.S. because what happens in the U.S. is a big trickle down effect in Canada as well, and seeing how these guys are able, like personally been following the Vivek guy and just how like articulate he is and being able to like relate to everybody. So it's just like when you kind of make it simple for everybody and not be too complex, everybody gets that message. And you just have your one message, you have your mission statement, you have everything like that, and you just keep pushing it, plugging it away with it, and you're going to resonate with somebody. So I couldn't agree more with you in terms of like simplicity is key.
Sure.
Yeah, the techno babble loses everybody.
Yeah, you know something about that, right, Dan?
I know a lot about that, brother. And here's the thing is I don't know about you guys and would love your thoughts. I have to be very careful because the techno babble to me is plain English, but to other people, it's what the hell are you talking about? Like, it's just because I'm so immersed in it. Yeah. And I've said this to Ryan many, many, many times where I've said, like, it makes sense in my head, but when I say it or when I write it down, it's like, that makes zero sense. You can give it to somebody else, right? And it's that third grade approach. I love that you said that because they've done a review, and every president of the United States since they've started tracking has actually spoken at a grade 4 or below level. Not that they're educated as a grade 4, but when they speak, they speak so simplistic and in smaller words and words that everyone can consume, that every single president that has won, and they actually did this comparison where, Reagan won, who he was against didn't, Obama won, who he is against didn't, Trump won, he was against didn't. And they actually leveled out the grade levels that they spoke at. And it was crazy that every single winner was 4th grade and below.
Yeah.
And I've tried with like writers and stuff, like writing tools. Like, how do you get it to the 4th grade? Like, I don't know.
For sure.
So we've got one from Ryan here. Ryan, do you want to tee up your video here, brother? Or?
Well, funny enough, I think we actually talked about it. So it was actually, I think we won't play because exactly like Sydney actually nailed it with everything with like, having that integrity and, being able to have like those employees and things like that. So it is the same video, but like, I feel like we had the impact of it already. So the one thing that I kind of like took away was like, when it's kind of a story of like his real estate agent and his real estate agent kind of saying like, I don't care. Like he just wanted the sale. Sydney, what does that look like in terms of like early in your career? Because I know you mentioned Damco was kind of where you got your start and stuff like that. Did you ever come across like salespeople or even like you said, people making like $8 an hour and things like that they were just about the money itself? Like, they didn't care about anything else. And if they did, why should they, from that point of view?
Yeah, it's always people who excel. Like if you work with people, you can tell who's about they for the money they here, because some people were making $8 an hour, but they were doing like supervisor level work. They were really taking their job serious. So I just say whatever you're doing, kind of immerse yourself in it. I mean, even if you want to be the CEO, if you're working an $8 job hour, do that job to the best of your ability. Learn what you can learn. Have a positive attitude. Even if you want to be the CEO, just do that job the best you can. Learn. I had to learn this in corporate America. Like I didn't understand what a P&L was at first, but then my mentor Terry, he made me do this. Like, fill this out every day. This is your responsibility every day. You need to know how much we moved in, moved out, how much we made, how much we lost. You need to do this every day. So I didn't realize at the time, I was like, this dude just making me do reports for no reason. But he was really teaching me the business, tracking in and tracking out, and the core principles of business, really, now that I look back and realize it. So whatever you're doing, if you're at a job, learn what you can learn from your job. And if you want to move on, but don't be a job showing up to work with a negative, I hate it here attitude. I hate my boss. Yeah. Find that one thing you can learn or you like doing at work and transition it and use it in your life or your next venture, start your own business, whatever you want to do. So wherever you're in the life, be present in the moment is basically what I want, people to know.
We should get a mic drop sound. Because that, like, how can you got to end the show on that note.